Welcome to Switch Up TV. Well, today I have a very special guest for you who's going to talk about the launch of his new book. Now, this book is on Penang and it's a lifetime journey of a man who started off as a reporter and in 2004 was named as one of Asia's under 50 movers and shakers. Well, he's none other than Datuk Seri Wong who is the managing director and CEO of the Star Group. Welcome aboard, Datuk. Now, Datuk, you've written a book on Penang. Now, why not another state? I know you've been born and bred in Penang, but what is it in Penang that is so special to you?
I'll be very biased, of course, right? Penang is special to me, and I know Penang like the back of my palm, and that it's easier for me to write about Penang because it has got certain significance, certain the background, which sort of like differ from, which makes it different from the other states. Penang, of course, is a cosmopolitan flavor. It's very multiracial. It has got its heritage values, which I think that you can't find in other states. Give example. I used the cover, or rather the cover of my book has got this road called Love Lane.
Right.
Okay, and that I would ask you that where would you find a street with a name called Love Lane in any part of Malaysia? I don't think you can find it.
So the names of the streets of Penang do captivate you?
Absolutely. I mean that to have Love Lane, it is like a name that sort of evoke and give so much special feelings, so much sentiment, you know. And it even has a story. One of the reasons why I felt that I needed to write a book on history was because that in our minds, in all our experiences, when we talk about history, it brings us pretty bad experiences. I'm sure you have gone through it. Long jotting down of notes by the
it's very dry,
real boring teacher, and then we just have to continuously having to memorize dates, figures, treaties, and it is always about boring.
So how different is this book from other books out there?
Okay, it's different because that the whole idea when I started this journey to record the names of the roads in Penang and who are these personalities which the road has been named after. I wanted it to be interesting, and that I also wanted to add in the little what they call it backgrounder of how this street used to be like, what sort of life I've been led there, who are the people who lives there, because that history, as I feel, should also be about people, should be about popular culture, popular history. You know that when we talk about history, always remember the word is his story.
Exactly.
It should be a story, and we're all journalists,
exactly.
and we like to talk about history, record it like a story, which unfortunately a lot of historians do not do it. They only record about politicians who later call themselves statesmen, okay? But it should be about people, and I wanted it to be different, and I wanted to do a book about the people's history.
Right.
And I give an example. Interesting things like in Penang, there's this street called Kimberley Street, and that the question is, who's Kimberley? We have Campbell Street. Who's Campbell?
Well, that's a very interesting thought.
Yeah. And I felt that there was some in Penang, Campbell Street, for example. The locals call it a new road. Like in Hokkien they call it Sin K, which translated means a new road. Okay, but it could also, if the intonation is not given correctly, it could mean fresh chicken, because in that area it used to have a thriving sex trade.
In one of the chapters on Stanford Raffles, he's the founder of Singapore, and what is his relevance to Penang?
Interesting, because that Stanford Raffles was working under Captain Francis Light, the founder of Penang. In our lingo, we call it the Machai. Okay, he was a low-ranking officer who was working under Captain Francis Light, and that they went to one particular house. It's called the Suffolk House, where they actually discussed how they should set up base in Singapore, and all this is hardly recorded in our textbook. And I wanted this to make it alive. Even for that matter, the famous Penang Char Kway Teow, I recorded it to say that in the past, the Char Kway Teow was actually served differently because they would have sprinkling of crab meat and have bamboo mussels
Yeah, and
come
of
to
course Penang
Yeah,
is
but they don't
known
have it
for
anymore.
its food. Yeah.
It's gone, they don't have it anymore, and I just wanted it to be recorded so that popular history will be found in print and online and the internet.
Datuk, despite the fact that Malaysians are not book readers, how would you make sure that they actually buy your book? Like, what is that interesting edge to it?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. When I started this series, this weekly series on the Penang's history and the names of the streets, I think of all the columns I've written, of all the pieces I've written, this has been the most popular series because that from the response that I get, I had emails from around the world. I had people, descendants of some of the personalities who are named, writing to me that I didn't know my great-great-grandfather was a school teacher or some village head. I had emails from all the world and a very good response, great goodwill towards the article, because when you write a political story, there will always be disputes, there will always be differences in opinion, but not this particular series, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then I think that it had ran for one year, and the response was very good, and now that it's been compiled into a book, I think that it'll be easier for those people who have missed my weekly columns on this series to read about it. And I think that because it is written in a very simple manner, in a very colorful way, in a very journalistic way, I think that people will hopefully find that history is not so boring after all. That he's telling a story, and plus the fact that it will be available online. Eventually, it will also be available to all 80,000 subscribers of the e-paper of the Star, and that I think that it'll be successful because that the pre-launch bookings I've sold around maybe 2,000 copies.
Wow, that's
and
great.
I think that
yeah.
the response has been really great. But it's not just the money, because that all the proceeds from the sales of the book will go to charity. I'm not looking for any money. There's 0 cents for me, but it's basically the passion for history and a passion to tell a story.
So the book will be launched on the 6th of June, right?
Yes.
Right, and this is the book, Penang's History, My Story. It's got a very beautiful cover with you on the scooter.
Yeah.
To truly know an author is by the trail of ink he leaves behind, and that's all I have for you now. I'm Zunaira Said, and do watch more clips on Switch Up TV. Stay tuned with us.